All right, humans. Ziggy is out again. I don't know where he went. He probably went around the corner to see if he could beg a treat from my girlfriend's mom, who I happen to know isn't here, but he doesn't know she isn't here, I guess. Anyway, he's probably trying to beg a treat from her, even though she's not here. But we'll see if we can get him in a cameo later. So, somebody had asked me to talk about the position of women in Zen, and I mentioned this to my girlfriend the other day, and she said, "Oh yeah, it's the last day of Women's History Month. You should probably do that today." Anyway, I didn't realize it was Women's History Month. Anyway, there was a big controversy a couple of years ago within the Thai forest tradition of, I believe, Theravada Buddhism, in which they say you can't ordain women as nuns and much less as any sort of teachers of the Dharma. And a guy in Australia who was ordained in that tradition bucked the system and ordained some women anyway, and then he kicked them out. I'm going to leave a link to a video from a channel called Doug's Dharma, in which he lays out exactly what happened and why it happened, the logic behind it. I watched the video. I could barely follow the logic behind the idea of not ordaining women. And even the bits I could follow seemed stupid. The idea is that there is the lineage of female monks that the Buddha started 2,500 years ago died out sometime in the Middle Ages, and in order to ordain a woman, you need to have a woman who's also ordained ordain her, and then therefore no women can be ordained, and nobody but Buddha can start another lineage, which to me seems so antithetical to everything the Buddha was about. The idea that only Buddha could start a Buddhist lineage is, to me, where the whole thing falls apart. It's stupid. But that's the controversy in the Thai forest tradition of Theravada. And what a lot of people don't understand, what I'm forever explaining, is that Buddhism is a... Wow, there's a lizard just running across the thing right there. It's kind of cute. And Ziggy, he just came by. I don't know. I'll see if I can get him in the video. What was I going to say? Oh, the thing is that I keep explaining over and over again to people is that Buddhism is not just this one thing. You know, there's this idea that Buddhism is this one thing, but people don't understand that Buddhism is 500 years older than Christianity. So you know how many forms of Christianity there are. So just because the Catholic Church does not ordain women as priests, you can't say Christianity doesn't allow women to be priests, because there are even forms of Catholicism other than Roman Catholicism that ordain women, and there are plenty of other denominations of Christianity where they ordain women as preachers and all sorts of things. So, you know, that the idea that Buddhism doesn't ordain women because this one tradition doesn't ordain women is just as stupid as saying that Christianity doesn't ordain women just because there's one form of Christianity that doesn't ordain women, okay? So, the Zen tradition is kind of cool. The Soto tradition that I come from is cool because Dogen, our founder, here's his picture, one of, I think, 2 pictures that were drawn of him during his lifetime is that one. Dogen wrote this nice piece in Shobogenzo called Daihai Tokuzui. And I covered this in my book, which book was it? Don't Be a Jerk. It was in Don't Be a Jerk. And I think I called it something like, Was Dogen the First Buddhist Feminist? And he does something really... Remember, this is 800 years ago and in Japan. So the position of women in Japan even today is kind of... You could write a book about that, but I'm not going to go into it. But it's very different from the way it is in the West. And this is 800 years ago in Japan. So this chapter is about how you should accept the truth from whoever it comes from. You know, no matter what the position of the person, you accept the truth as the truth. It doesn't matter. That's the point he starts off making, but at some point in the narrative, I don't know if the word narrative is right, he goes on this little tirade about the position of women in Buddhism. And let's see, I'm looking at this as I'm talking. He has this whole thing where he talks about this great female Buddhist teacher in the Zen tradition called Matsuzan, and cites a conversation that she had with her Dharma heir. What's his name? A male Dharma heir, Shikan, I think. Anyway, Shikan says, I got half a dipper at old Papa Rinzai's place, and I got half a dipper at old Mama Matsuzan's place. Making a dipper with both halves, I have finished drinking and have arrived directly at the present. I am completely satisfied. So, I'm not sure if he was a Dharma heir. I guess he must have been a Dharma heir of Rinzai, who was a man, but he also studied with Matsuzan, who was a woman, and he revered them equally. And Dogen cites this, and then he talks about the nun Myoshin, who was the disciple of Kyozan, and gives a little talk about some affair that happened with her, and I'll let you read that for yourself. And then he goes on this big tirade. Let's see. Furthermore, nowadays, and this is nowadays being 800 years ago in Japan, there's Ziggy barking at somebody. Nowadays, extremely stupid people look at women without having corrected the prejudice that women are objects of sexual greed. Disciples of the Buddha must not be like this. If whatever may become the object of sexual greed is to be hated, do not all men deserve to be hated too? And as regards the causes and conditions of becoming tainted, a man can be the object, a woman can be the object, what is neither man or woman can be the object, and dreams and fantasies. Talking about basically pleasuring yourself, which was a violation of the precepts back in those days, and that's a whole book there. But anyway, he's saying it doesn't matter. And he says, even in China, there was a stupid monk who made the following vow: through every age and in every life I shall never look at a woman. Upon what morality is this vow based? Is it based on secular morality? Is it based on the Buddha Dharma, etc., etc.? And then he says, what wrong is there in a woman? What virtue is there in a man? Among bad people there are men who are bad people. Among good people there are women who are good people. Wanting to hear the Dharma and wanting to get liberation never depend on whether we are a man or a woman. When they have yet to cut delusion, men and women alike have equally to cut delusion. When they cut delusion and experience the principle, that means become enlightened, there is nothing at all to choose between a man and a woman. And so forth and so on. And then he gets on this very long tirade about something. Let's see. Again, in Japan, there is one particularly laughable institution. This is either called a sanctuary or a place for practicing the truth of the great vehicle, where bhikshunis, that's a female monk, and other women are not allowed to enter. The wrong custom has been handed down, and so people cannot even recognize it for what it is. And he just goes on and on. If one laughed, a person's guts might split, over how stupid this idea is. And he basically says that the idea of excluding women from these places of pilgrimage is dumb. And so he really lays it on thick about the idea that women are just as capable of attaining enlightenment and understanding the truth and being great Buddhist teachers and being great Buddhist monks, or nuns if you prefer that term, as men. And he leaves no room for questioning. I mean, it's pretty clear. You can't really question. Also, in Dogen's extensive record, we have 3 examples of letters that were written by Dogen to Ryoden, who was a woman student of his. And let's see what he says. In 2 of these 3 letters, it could be letters to anybody. He kind of gives the same degree of direct teaching that he gives to anybody else, and only one of them, at least as far as I know, clearly mentions her by name and says anything about her being a woman. It says, Wayfarer Ryoden, you have the seeds of prajna from early on in life, intently aspiring to the great way of the Buddha ancestors. You are a woman, but have strong, robust aspiration. Without begrudging any effort in nurturing the way, for you I will demonstrate the precise meaning of coming from the West. That's the Buddha, the Bodhidharmas coming from the West. And so on and so on. He gives her a little lesson there. And regarding Bodhidharma, who came from the West, he had 4 disciples, one of whom was a woman. So 3 men and 1 woman. So, there's that example as well. Now, there are a couple of things. The idea that everything's been hunky-dory and peachy, even in the Soto lineage of Zen, is not true. And I'm sure if you can go on the internet, and you're on the internet right now, you can go search and see different things that have happened that have been unfortunate. But at least in principle, the idea that men and women are absolutely equal in becoming Dharma teachers is well established. I remember in Japan, I don't know who this lady was, but there were often posters of this famous Buddhist nun, a teacher, I suppose, a master, and she would get on TV all the time and stuff. She was really revered in Japan. Wish I could tell you her name, but she was all over the place. One thing that people do sometimes complain about is the Lineage Chart, and that's the names of Buddhas and ancestors. This is from San Francisco Zen Center. Now, typically, the lineage of ancestors, Buddhist ancestors that you chant when you are at a sesshin or something, a retreat, are just the male ancestors. And what San Francisco Zen Center did to remedy this is they made a separate list of the female ancestors, and they also chant that. And we picked up on that because I went to Tassajara a bunch of times, and I picked up on that, and I ordained 3 women as Buddhist priests in my time, and I wanted to also honor that tradition of women teachers, so we also chant that. However, just a little caveat, the idea that we only chant the male ancestors is maybe not quite as sexist as it would seem on the surface, because what you're really doing, you're not trying to pay tribute to all the Buddhist ancestors. You are naming the specific people in your lineage. And in the case of Shunryu Suzuki, who established the San Francisco Zen Center, all of the names of the people leading up to him, this person gave Dharma to this person, gave Dharma to this person, etc., on through 2,500 years, all happen to be men. And same with me, with Gudo Nishijima Roshi's lineage. If there were women in that lineage, they would be named. But in the cases of both of those, there aren't any, so they're not named. So, for example, if you were to chant the lineage in a temple where the teacher was female and had female teachers before her, then they would be in there. But anyway, I like the San Francisco Zen Center's idea of chanting the women ancestors as paying tribute to them, so I do it too. So I think that's a good thing to do. There was some people on the internet complaining after I published that thing about Dogen being a feminist that, he wasn't really a feminist because he didn't do enough for women and he didn't establish an order of women and this and that. And I just think those complaints are a little... Really, it's hard to hold up somebody from 800 years ago to the standards you would hold somebody to today. Probably in Dogen's time, his idea would have been that the monasteries are sexually segregated. They have been forever, from Buddha's time on. And it's only been in the 20th century that you've had mixed monasteries, Buddhist monasteries. And so Dogen probably wouldn't have even thought of starting a women's monastery. He would have said that's the job of a woman master to do that, not the job of a male master is to start a male monastery. I think that would have been his answer to that question. So I don't think it's fair to hold him to those standards. I think the fact that he wrote Dai Haitokuzui, bowing to that which has attained the marrow, is a really good thing within our lineage, and I'm really happy that is the case there, and I like to share that, and I like the fact that Dogen was very adamant that there wasn't a distinction between men and women in the sense of who could become a teacher, who could become ordained, who could become enlightened, etc., etc. There's no distinction there. So there you go. That's how it goes, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. And I don't know if this video is going to cause controversy, because this seems to be one of those subjects that always causes controversy. But if you want to have a controversy, there's a comment section below for you to have controversy in, if you like. Anyway, also, if you like, you can send me money. That is the URL you are seeing below is the place you can send me a donation, and I really appreciate that, because that is my only way of making a living right now. It's my way of buying Ziggy dog biscuits and whatever else I need to do. But if you're having financial trouble, as a lot of people are, don't send me a donation, because I'm doing okay. But the reason I'm doing okay is because people do send me donations, so thank you for doing that. We will see you later. Have a good time all the time. Where is Ziggy? Oh, Ziggy's under the table. Let me see if I can get a shot of him. Hello, Ziggy. Hey, Ziggy. How you doing? You like that? That's the microphone. Hi, Ziggy.